Monning. Oh,
Yeah, Monning's next.
Senator Monning is next in the file.
okay, sorry. Yeah, Senator Monning is going to, and his people in support are going to limit it to the environmental quality jurisdiction on this, not the other areas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. On January 11th of this year, the California Public Utilities Commission approved PG&E's request to retire Diablo Canyon by 2025. But to our disappointment, the PUC did not approve the Community Impact Mitigation Program or fully fund the Employee Retention Program that are vital components to the success of the plant's retirement. Both of these programs will provide a bridge to our region as the transition to closure of Diablo Canyon moves forward. Senate Bill 1090 authorizes the PUC to approve elements of the joint proposal that was submitted as part of the retirement application, including $85 million for the Community Impact Mitigation Program, requires full funding of the Employee Retention Program, and directs the PUC to manage its integrated resource plan to ensure that there is no increase of greenhouse gas emissions as a result of the retirement. The community has assumed the public safety risk for the past 33 years, while all PG&E customers have realized the benefits over the past decades and will continue to benefit for the 7 remaining years of energy generation from the plant. The community, including stakeholders that represent labor, environmental community, local government, and PG&E, have spent weeks, hours, months negotiating this joint proposal. My principal co-author, Assemblymember Cunningham, is here to voice his support, and then we have a couple of witnesses also to add their voice with the permission of the chair.
Yeah, no, it's fine, and just so we're only worried about not raising greenhouse gases. So I've got a limited chunk of this bill. So please, Assemblymember, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. In the interest of time and out of respect for the full docket you have today, I would just simply echo the senator's comments. Thank you for your time, and I believe this is a very important bill for the state and for our community. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, member Scott Wetcher, on behalf of the California Coalition of Utility Employees and State Association of Electrical Workers, nearly 2 years ago, we reached a historic agreement to allow the Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Station to be decommissioned. We forego many different legal avenues that we had to fight to continue to operate the plant because we had collectively bargained a retention and severance package for the employees there, which is very customary in these situations. This bill would uphold that collectively bargained agreement. I think the immediate environmental issue here, Mr. Chairman, from the labor perspective is that whenever you decommission a nuclear facility, retention bonuses are essential to ensuring that in the 7 years that it's going to take to decommission, that the plant is continued to operate in a safe and secure manner. What happens is nuclear operators, licensed nuclear operators, and other key personnel are a very highly sought after group, especially if they've already been trained and have a lot of experience. We invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into these personnel. So headhunters immediately upon the noticing of the decommissioning of Diablo from power plants throughout the country, including some that are under construction right now, have swooped down and are trying to lure away my members who need to find employment. These retention bonuses are absolutely key to maintaining the safety and security of that facility. In fact, federal law requires that Diablo Canyon would have to be shut down if at any time the number of licensed operators dips below what the federal minimum is. That has significant environmental considerations because if you stop operating and you lose that 2,200 megawatts of baseload power, you're going to have to immediately fill that with gas-fired power, fossil power, in order to keep the lights on this summer. So for those reasons, we would urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, other members, very quickly, Paul Yoder on behalf of the San Luis Obispo Board of Supervisors. This bill is vital to the county and its residents. The county provides roads, bridges, drainage systems, law enforcement, fire protection, and emergency services to this plant. It will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. I want to make sure that these organizations can absolutely speak for themselves, but because We are in the EQ committee. I also want to note this bill is supported by Friends of the Earth, National Resources Defense Council, and the Alliance for Nuclear Responsibility, and I just would urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Next.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Frank Lind. I'm the former general counsel at the Public Utilities Commission. I'm here today on behalf of Friends of the Earth, one of the signatories to this landmark agreement. We care very passionately about not just retiring Diablo Canyon, but replacing it with clean, greenhouse gas-free resources. It's been almost 2 years since that agreement was reached. To date, the Public Utilities Commission, regrettably, has not done anything towards the replacement effort. There is nothing lined up for replacing Diablo Canyon with greenhouse gas-free resources. And so we're looking to this committee, to this body, for leadership on this issue. So we urge an aye vote on the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Others in support of SB 1090. This is the EQ jurisdiction to make sure that any generation of energy after the closing of this plant will be GHG neutral or not an increase.
Yes, Sharon Gonzalez with Townsend Public Affairs on behalf of the city of Pismo Beach in support of the bill. Thank you.
Kyle Jones with Sierra Club, California in support.
Thank you. Andrea Ball on behalf of the California School Boards Association in support.
Genevieve Abaddon on behalf of Natural Resources Defense Council in support.
Okay, those is opposed to 1090. We're going to need a couple of spots and let them come forward. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Matt Friedman. I represent the Utility Reform Network, a ratepayer advocacy group that has been practicing in front of the PUC for more than 40 years. TURN was very active in the PUC proceeding that recently resolved. We were not supportive of the joint proposal that was previously mentioned, and we're not involved in many of the negotiations that led to the proposals that are now contained in the bill that's before you. This bill would raise rates by approximately $225 million. I think that's something that people need to keep in mind to support the programs that are identified in the bill. We believe the PUC reached the correct decision on the disputed issues, and we don't see an environmental nexus between the employee retention bonuses that are mentioned in the bill and the notion that the plant could close prematurely. In fact, the PUC approved approximately 2/3 of the retention bonuses that PG&E asked for.
Yeah, I guess I want to, don't belabor this, but since we're the Environmental Quality Committee, what I would be worried about is if, for instance, if Diablo Canyon did close early, where would be the replacement energy that would not increase the greenhouse gases? Those are another committee's jurisdiction. We're here to focus on the air quality and the greenhouse gas emissions and saying, you know, again, if it closed early, where would that energy come from? If it doesn't close early, are we in line and are assuring the public that that's going to be a GHG neutral position?
Well, Senator, I would agree with you that that's a concern. I believe the PUC already has sufficient authority and jurisdiction to solve this problem. They already have a process in place through the Integrated Resources Planning effort to deal with increases in greenhouse gas emissions, and this bill provides them actually with no additional authority or direction on that front that I believe to be meaningful. The PUC could be doing more, and in fact, we've urged them to do more. They have that fully within their existing authority. And our argument would be to let the PUC move forward with that. And to the extent that Diablo Canyon does close before the end of their current licenses, I think we'd all be working to figure out a way to get replacement resources that are GHG-free online as quickly as possible. But we don't see that this bill makes a meaningful contribution towards that effort. It's very general and vague in terms of the statutory language in the bill on this front, and it essentially reiterates what the PUC has already said it's going to do. So we have concerns about the appropriateness of the bill. We think the funding sources could come from alternative places. We think the legislature could authorize money if it sees it appropriate. Shareholders could kick in some money. That's all in the letter that we've submitted. We understand the issue today is the environmental impact, but we don't believe that the issues related to community impact payments that were testified to or the employee retention bonuses have any relationship to the environmental issues that this committee has jurisdiction over.
So the staff report points out that the IRPs are only have to design to avoid the increase in GHG emissions rather than require them to increase, not to increase operationally. Is that, I mean, I'm on page 5 of our staff report.
I think that the integrated resources planning process is a work in progress right now. The PUC has identified a particular set of objectives that it's operationalized through what it calls a reference system plan, and it's asked all of the load-serving entities to come in and make proposals for how they're going to meet a lot of these goals, but many of the details really have yet to be worked out. There's so much to be done in that case to figure out how the PUC is going to oversee so many different buyers of electricity in the current market and operationalize its greenhouse gas goals.
Okay, next witness.
Chairman and committee members, my name is Dr. Alex Zander Canara from Menlo Park, and I'm representing Californians for Green Nuclear Power, CGNP. And being 79, I'm glad it's actually Jerry Hill's birthday today, not mine.
We're all happy.
He'll get there. So I'm going to read for efficiency, and pardon my eyesight problem here. So in Senate Bill 1090, we have seen other bills be presented here that are intended to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in California, which is absolutely essential. And this bill 1090 does not do that. It does the opposite. As our CGNP name suggests, Californians for Green Nuclear Power it's a nonprofit organization that appreciates the advantages of nuclear power and it provides revenue benefits and environmental benefits to the California. CGNP includes scientists and engineers considered to be specialists in their fields with degrees and decades in experience. CGNP filed a CPUC application for rehearing and PG&E's application to abandon Diablo Canyon, and for that reason, the CPUC website now shows that the application is reopened. So the CPUC has not granted the application to close Diablo Canyon. Thus, it is not a final CPUC action. We are new to the legislative process, but have stepped forward because we want to help policymakers make wise decisions based upon science. We must oppose SB 1090 unless it is amended for the following reasons, 3 reasons. On April 11th, a conversation with Dr. Gene Nelson of our CGNP with your consultant, Dr. David Garcia. Garcia agreed that based on Dr. Nelson's analysis, replacing Diablo Canyon with other carbon-free energy would be impossible. This is your own consultant's words. And we're in total agreement. As an engineer myself, there is no way to do that. Statutes require the CPUC to consider each of their decisions' effect on the environment and greenhouse gas emissions. In the decision to retire Diablo Canyon, the CPUC unlawfully punted these requirements. It would be extraordinary for the legislature to step in now and set a precedent allowing CPUC to violate its duties to protect the environment with every proceeding by simply retroactively changing those statutory duties. So that's one key reason why we're opposed to this bill. These issues are currently being litigated, and it's inappropriate for the legislature to move the goalpost during litigation pendency. Third and final reason, SB 1090 contains inoperative legislative findings which have no effect as law. The language in those findings is a fig leaf for the weak environmental language in the bill's only operative section. That language, section 2, only mandates that the CPUC requires plans that are designed to avoid increased emissions. This does not require anyone to show that Diablo Canyon will be replaced with clean power. And it should be noted that, as Cal ISO can explain to you if you have a question, nuclear power is storage. Any atom not fission is waiting to release its energy in the future when you choose to use it.
Thank you. Next witness opposed.
I'm Dr. Michael M. Marinac. I'm volunteering my time here to represent CGNP as well. I'm not representing the views of my employer. The closure of Diablo Canyon is not something the legislature should endorse. Given California's commitment to addressing climate change, the wisdom of abandoning California's largest greenhouse gas-free energy source continues to be challenged by engineers, climatologists, environmentalists, and local residents. Diablo Canyon provides 1/10 of California's electricity needs economically and greenhouse gas-free, and noted climate scientist James Hansen has published an estimate that 1.8 million lives have been saved by the reduction in air pollution achieved by nuclear plants worldwide. SB 1090 will just result in shuffling existing greenhouse gas-free sources and improper reliance upon CCAs. Unlike solar and wind, Diablo Canyon is a reliable supply of essential baseload power. Taking Diablo offline will result in the burning of more fossil fuels to meet that need. This will result in 7 million tons more carbon dioxide emissions annually than if Diablo continued operating. PG&E testified that much of the replacement power for Diablo will be generated by unregulated community choice aggregators, but there is no way for CPUC to enforce that they would meet the enormous challenge of constructing new GHG-free sources to replace Diablo. Also, since CCAs are not required to audit their sources, there's no mechanism to verify any claim regarding the content of power that they sell. For these reasons, CGNP asked that the committee consider the following amendments. First, if PG&E truly believes its statements that Diablo can be replaced with greenhouse gas-free power, then it should have no issue with legislative language that requires the CPUC to determine conclusively that this can be done before approving the retirement of Diablo. Thus, SB 1090 should be amended to require the CPUC to withhold its final approval of Diablo retirement until it has been shown with clear and convincing evidence. And second, if, like with the Song's retirement, GHG emissions rise substantially in California, then PG&E should pay a penalty concomitant to the penalties paid by heavy emitters. SB 1090 should be amended to require such a penalty. Thank you.
Others opposed to SB 1090, please come forward. There's a mic.
Here, I'll get out of here.
I'm Dr. Gene Nelson, CGNP's government liaison. Regarding analysis comment 2, Dr. Garcia confirms that only plans are required. They don't reduce air pollution. When I discussed SB 1090 with him a week ago, he confirmed it would be impossible to replace Diablo Canyon. Hence, emissions will substantially increase if Diablo Canyon ceases operation. Thank you.
Okay, let's close the public hearing, bring it back. Senator Monning, try as I may, Assembly Member, we're just looking about the requirement that the Public Utilities Commission ensure that there's no increase in the greenhouse gas emissions from the closing. We're not going to talk about the retention program or the community mitigation. There's been a suggestion by the opposition that we need more restrictive language or authority. I mean, it's a requirement that they ensure it. Can you comment on that?
Be glad to. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I think it's important to recognize SB 1090 is not about whether or not Diablo Canyon should be closed. That decision has been made. SB 1090 is looking at the impacts of the closure, a critical component. There's 3 pillars. One is community impacts, one is worker retention issues, and the third is the replacement of that produced energy with clean, safe, renewable energy. The parties to that agreement have contractually agreed to that commitment. While it may still be in a planning phase, the phase out of the facility is a 7 years from now, phase out plan. The PUC did encourage that it should be addressed as part of the broader state's commitment to achieving renewable energy objectives. But there's a contractual commitment to have safe, clean, renewable energy replace what's currently produced by Diablo Canyon. I would argue that the community mitigation and the worker retention do link to these environmental objectives, because we need the safety commissioning of that facility. We need to retain the public emergency response of first responders. Do you know that my constituents, our constituents in San Luis Obispo County, are issued potassium iodide tablets to take in the event of an unplanned release of radiation from that facility? So SB 1090 achieves 3 integrated objectives of public policy. And to respond to the representative from Turn, the rate increase, if you distribute it among PG&E beneficiaries of that continued energy production, will be about 18 cents per month for the average energy consumer, not in perpetuity, but while the facility is still producing energy that they're using to light their homes and run the electrical needs of their homes and businesses. So there's a direct nexus between a de minimis rate increase in achieving the public safety and environmental objectives in SB 1090.
Councilmember Cunningham, do you have anything to add in closing?
I would just add that as the earlier witness testified, the workforce retention is linked to achieving the GHG transition without any increase in GHGs, because if we're in a situation where the workforce retention funds are insufficient to staff the plant, and we're in some sort of earlier closure requirement, we don't have that 7-year transition period that we're going to need to replace 10% of the state's energy.
Okay. Senator Stone, you have a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Montague, you made a very important point in that we're not here today to discuss the closure of Diablo Canyon. It is going to close, and we just can't turn a power plant off, a nuclear power plant, by just turning a switch. There has to be a thoughtful process, certainly in the best interest of public safety. And I'll tell you that I've been in the political arena now for about 26 years. And if you would have asked me when I started in this business as a city council member in Temecula, what I thought of nuclear energy, I probably would have told you I really support it. It's clean, it's inexpensive. And then, as you know, we witnessed 9/11, and we also witnessed the horrific events, a natural disaster at Fukushima in Japan. And as you know, I've got a compounding pharmacy. After Fukushima happened, even though it's way across the Pacific Ocean, but that water and contaminants are coming our way, I had tremendous requests for potassium iodide from patients, and there's no commercial form of it. It really needs to be compounded. So we had a number of prescriptions for people who are very concerned about potential contamination from radioactivity. So I want to applaud you and Assemblyman Cunningham, one, for reaching out, and two, having leadership to have a thoughtful process in the best interest of our environment, in the best interest of public safety. And I think the de minimis increase in electricity bills, and as a Republican, I don't like increases in costs, I don't like increases in taxes, but the residents of the area that have been the beneficiaries of this inexpensive electricity source have benefited for many, many years. And I think that when you're talking about the ramifications of turning down a facility that has such dangerous fuels, if things are not done in an appropriate manner and in an appropriate order, that it could have public safety implications. And I feel that the customer base will be supportive of your efforts with the de minimis costs to ensure that they can sleep at night knowing that things are going to be turned off appropriately and they don't have to worry about radioactive contamination. I also like that it is your express goals through this bill to replace this with as clean of energy as we possibly can. And our state has led the effort nationwide, and especially in my district. We have solar in the eastern Coachella Valley, solar farms, we have geothermal, we have wind. Riverside County really can be a poster child, if you will, of alternative energy sources, and I appreciate that you want to replace this, and I understand the opposition says that you can't, but I work with you, and I know that you're going to try to do what you can to make sure that that does happen. And for those reasons, I would like to move your bill and applaud you both for bringing it forward.
You have a motion? Anything else that you'd like to add?
I just thank the committee for your time. A final quick remark would be the PUC held it did not have the authority to approve the community mitigation component that, as we've argued, is integrated to the safety, the long-term safe transition. The PUC invited the legislature to provide them with the authority and directive. That's what SB 1090 does. Respectfully ask for your aye vote. I want to thank Senator Stone for his thoughtful comments and for moving the bill.
Please call the roll.
Item number 9, SB 1090, by Senator Monning. The motion is due pass to the Appropriations Committee. Wachowski.
Aye.
Wachowski, aye. Stone.
Aye.
Stone, aye. Gaines. Hill. Lara. Skinner.
Aye.
Skinner, aye. Stern.
We'll keep that matter open for several members that are not here, and thank you for your time. Senator Portantino, thank you for waiting. This is item number 11, members. This deals with the regional board. Senator Portantino and I have been in discussions. We're going to skinny